Okay. So the sixth limb, concentration, dharana. How would you pronounce that?
Dharana.
Okay.
Dharana.
What do you have to say about concentration?
Well, I would say that here, particularly, you'll find a lot of differences depending on the tradition. So, the concentration is then obviously the question is what are you concentrating on? So, what now you've done is you have eliminated your focus from any external reality or from material reality, and now you want to concentrate it on something. So, what do you concentrate on? So, in the Puranas, there's many descriptions of what form one is meditating on, and that's also why many people don't like it when they think, when they attribute some kind of form, to source. Be that as it may, the idea is that one is meditating on a form of source.
So first of all, what you've done, like the beginning stages, which you should have already done now, is having some ability
Mm.
to be able to focus,
Yeah.
to be able to concentrate, to shut out outside forces. So and when you're able to do that, and that you've realized where you are and what source is, then you're asking yourself, what are you focusing on? So what are you focusing on? What is maybe the beginning stages of that, and then we can talk about where you would be at level, because these are steps
Yeah.
for you, that there's concentration happening all the way through this. You have to concentrate
Yeah.
on the yamas, for example, and that you're learning to build your concentration, so it's happening all the way along, like all of them are in little bits. So once you get to limb number 6, you have an ability to concentrate. What are you concentrating on? What are you focusing on?
So in the Ashtanga Yoga process, one is trying to focus on what's called the supersoul, which is situated in one's heart, which the supersoul is just a localized aspect of source. The source is expanded into every atom and in every heart, and the super consciousness is prevalent everywhere. So it says that there are two different types of consciousness in each body. That there is the individual consciousness, which is me, and in your body it's you, and then there's the super consciousness, which is source.
Yes.
And the difference between the two
What's the difference? Okay.
is that I am only cognizant of my body, and you're cognizant of your body and
Yes.
not mine.
Yes.
But the source is cognizant of all bodies.
Yes.
So if you experience happiness and distress, whatever, the source is directly experiencing it. But if you experience it, I'm not experiencing it. I can empathically kind of relate to it, but I don't have a direct experience of it. So if I cut you, then I don't feel the cut.
Yes.
So this is the difference between these two different consciousnesses. And
So what can we share? I get the separation of conscious, that there's my individualized point of view of my concentration or my focus, um, with the super soul that is source and that we're both connected to. What are we both feeling? What do we have in common that we're feeling?
you and the source.
You and I
You
and
and
the
I.
source.
What do we have in common?
Because we're talking about concentration.
Yeah.
There's two different kinds of
Consciousness.
consciousness. So when we're both focused on source, what can we both share? What are we both feeling?
We will both feel ecstasy and union.
Yes.
So
So
and we'll both be able to experience the absolute reality. But we still have an independent, unique experience of it.
yes.
Because we have a unique relationship. Like as a soul, we are eternally unique individuals.
The way I talk about that is God having an experience of individuality. So you can still feel that you're individual, you can still hold yourself as separately, but paradoxically, you can also experience source, or everything is everything. And there's a paradox involved in that.
There is a paradox
Yeah.
above that.
Do you from your lineage, do you speak? Is there a talk of
Yeah.
a paradox? Is there? How do you discuss that
Yeah,
paradox?
it's the invocation mantra to the Upanishads. It starts Om Purnamidam Purnamida Purnam Purnantu Dachate, and it says some more things. But the essence is that the supreme source, the absolute truth, is perfect and complete, and everything that emanates from it are perfectly equipped as complete wholes, and even though so many complete wholes are emanating from it, it still remains a complete balance, and it doesn't lose any of its qualities.
Yes.
So in that way, source itself is an independent individual with its own experience, and from it it's expanding many individual units like me and you,
Yes.
who also have our own individual experience, and we're perfect. We are complete in ourselves.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean the source loses its own independence and individual
Yeah,
experience.
I think the thing
Yeah.
people need to that struggle with is because our minds and our world that we've been taught is so linear that we don't really get the paradox of that everything that is everything is not linear.
Yeah.
So that there is you, and that you are complete upon yourself, and you're connected to absolutely everything.
Yeah.
So
And you can have a relationship with source.
yes.
And you can talk to source, you can play with source, you can eat with source, you can make jokes with source. There's a relationship. Like I can have exchanges with you.
Yes.
I can have exchanges with source.
Yes.
Also.
I agree.
And when all my interactions with everybody and everything is always revolving around my relationship with source, then all those interactions become perfect. And that's what yoga means, is that you're always having yoga, you're always connected to source. So when I'm dealing with you, my consciousness is connected to source, and I'm seeing you're a part of source. I'm drinking water, this is energy of source. And everything you're seeing source and everywhere. And then even you can have a direct experience of source, where you sitting down and you're speaking with source, and actually perceiving, the form of source.
You
Which-
said everything was perfect. Talk about that a little bit.
Is that everything is the way it's meant to be,
Yes.
and that the source is perfect and complete. So therefore everything which emanates from it also is perfect and complete.
Yes.
So people think that, which is kind of like a atheistic scientific argument. They say that if God created everything, the world and whatever, why did He create it imperfectly?
Ah.
And then, so the answer is because no, He did create it perfectly. You just think it has a different purpose than for what it is.
Yes.
So therefore you think it's imperfect because the purpose you wanted to have, it doesn't fulfill.
Yes, your journey. So part of the purpose is that your journey of free will, and that you need to learn to own your godliness, and that you are a creator. You're creating from whatever level
Exactly.
that you can see from.
And it's perfect in that.
It is perfect. Because the other thing is people have this idea that life isn't perfect. It isn't working. You're not creating. I'm not living the life I want to live. I'm not creating. You're always your beliefs are always working. You're always 100% believing in something.
Yeah.
And that if you're believing in fear or you're believing in lack in some kind of way, it's working perfectly because that's what you're getting back. And the learning is that there is no lack, and being able to, when you can connect with source and wholeness completely, and that you see the perfection in everything, then you can live that perfection. And until then, you're the life that you're creating for yourself is that whatever your belief, you're 100% believing in the things that you don't want. For example, if that's whatever's coming back to you. So if your life isn't the way you want it to be, you're 100% believing in what you are getting. You change your beliefs, your life will change accordingly.
Yeah. Yeah, you relate to reality completely different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. When you know that you're the one that's creating your reality in life, as opposed to that's the way life
And
is.
it's the same reality. You just experience it differently.
Yeah, and it's we were talking about superposition, that everything is available at any given moment, and whatever it is that you're putting out is what you're giving. The frequency you're putting out is what you're getting back, and that you have 100% belief into that. Whatever that unique snowflake that you are experiencing in your life, which is a mixture of deserving and having an abundance, and also whatever on that continuum, whatever percentage of that is lack, which is your unique life is different than the one that I'm creating. And there's almost 8 billion of them now, I'm told, that we're all having our own unique reality and experience.
8 million human beings.
Excuse me?
8 million human beings.
Yeah, I'm talking about just on this planet
Yeah.
and the human beings that are
And then
on
there are
it.
also animals and plants.
Yeah,
and
well
fish
then,
and- They also have
I'm
an
less worried
experience.
about them. The animals seem to be a little bit more sorted than we are. Okay, so that's about concentration. We talked about, that there are two kinds of consciousness. We pulled that out a little bit
Yeah.
more.
So now the it's called the param atma in Sanskrit. But atma means self.
Yes.
And para means superior or supreme.
Yes.
So it means super self, super soul.
Yes.
So you're meditating on the super soul. So you're visualizing the form of the super soul as it's situated in your heart, and this is what the Dharan is about.
Okay, I don't do this. So you focus as a physical entity. Are you like visualizing like a human body shape that is your soul? What are you focusing on that when you're focusing on your super soul?
Well, in the Vedas and Vedanta, the descriptions of the form that you visualized.
Mm.
They actually have say what it's like, the color of its skin, how tall he is, certain helmet he has.
Uh-huh.
He's wearing
Helmet?
like a golden helmet, and what it looks like. He's got it's called a Kaustuba jewel. I don't know exactly what that is
Yeah.
in English, around his chest, and he's got a garland of lotus flowers, and also
Is the super soul? Is that the kind of super
Yes.
soul you're visualizing?
in the Vedas, that's what's been described.
Is that what you're doing
Eh? That is what
in your practice? Do you do that?
in my practice we actually go straight to the dhyan process and the samadhi process through the practice of bhakti yoga and chanting of mantras.
Oh, okay.
So we actually jump past all of this.
Okay, well, let's go back there then. So in the concentration of focusing on the super soul is, and there's a visual. There's actually there's an example of what the super soul
Yeah.
more or less looks
Yeah.
like. Okay.
And there's actually a story in the Puranas of a boy. His name is Dhruva,
Yes.
and he was, due to some reason, he just left his father's kingdom and he went to the forest, and he wanted to meditate on the supreme, on the source. And so he came across one sage who instructed him on the Ashtanga yoga process, and he was visualizing this form, which was described like in his mind's eye, and he perceived this form. And when he opened his eyes, he actually saw that person standing in front of him,
Okay.
like I'm seeing you.
Yes.
So to kind of say that like a physical entity is not so accurate, because it's a spiritual body.
Yeah, I meant a physical shape.
Yeah.
I meant I was more talking about
Yeah.
shape as opposed to what it's actually made out of.
But it's like perceiving him like you're perceiving me.
Yes. Okay.
Even though that body is not made up of matter, and actually not seeing with the eyes, you're seeing it with the spiritual eye.
Yeah.
Not even the third eye. You're seeing it with the eyes of the soul itself,
Okay.
and then you're able to perceive the spiritual.
Well, that brings up so what's the difference between seeing with your soul and seeing with your third eye? I collapse those and make them the same.
Usually they do, because people equate the astral body to being the soul and who we are.
Yes.
But I accept that who we are is actually just an observer of the astral body.
Okay.
And the astral body has our mind, it has our emotions,
Yeah.
it has our will, and
It's just like I'm not the body.
Yeah.
So I'm not any kind of
but I'm
energetic
not
body.
my mind either.
No, I'm not my mind or my
Yeah.
body. I'm neither of those things.
So I'm separate from my astral body too.
Yes, that's
Yeah. So the third eye is basically the sense of the
I
astral
don't
body.
even think about the astral body actually. I kind of just launched over that as well.
So usually when people say spiritual, usually they mean astral.
Okay.
So it's a matter of semantics, but they're talking
But
about...
they're important semantics
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
It's like they're it's a thing.
So I prefer to say astral, because then I free up this word spiritual,
Yes.
which I can utilize for
I like
something
that.
else.
Yes. That's very useful.
Yeah.
I just want to go back to now we're back to the modern yoga scene, and that so the sixth limb is the sixth step in moving towards meditation.
Yeah.
So what are the most important parts of concentration? Because we're not even sitting yet in meditation. So what is the most important parts about concentration at this level that we're just about to lead into meditation?
Well, I would say, and as a daily activity or as a daily life, the way one can introduce this is just recognizing the divinity in everything, and seeing that everything is actually connected to source and coming from source. And by honoring it properly and utilizing it, I'm actually honoring source. Just for example, like,
You're honoring self, you're honoring
Yeah.
source and everything that is.
and it's even things like just being mindful, like you put the light off and you understand I don't want to waste energy.
For sure.
Then, but that activity you can connect to source, or even if you come, instead of just throwing your book down, you just put it down with respect and understanding, and in that way this becomes also meditation. And what
Just being mindful, whatever you interpret as being, caring and mindful
being mindful
at any
but
level.
in that mindfulness, connecting it to source.
That's that is
Yeah.
mindful for me.
Okay,
What are you
I
being
see.
mindful of?
Because some people are mindful but they don't see source.
Yeah, no,
So-
mindful for me is just everything that's sacred.
Yeah.
It's just seeing
And
the
everything is
what,
sacred.
Yeah, what in this moment is sacred. And I'm going to go back to science here a little bit as well. Is Einstein saying that either everything is a miracle or nothing is, and and that's also the sacred is them because there are miracles and everything is the same, and he was seeing it in science that he was able to say either everything is a miracle or nothing is. So I equate it to that as well. For me, is this concentration limb and virtually as a step, is that why not just go straight into meditation? Oh, I see. Because it's mindful. Because you're still walking around.
You're starting the visualization.
You're still owning
Mm.
the sacredness in everything, which
Yeah.
makes meditation so much easier.
Yeah.
Is that because you get into meditation, it's just more or less being blissful about that everything is sacred. Your breath is sacred. Your posture is sacred. Where you are is sacred. Your connection to source is sacred. All of that, and that you were giving this journey in this life is sacred. So it's more of it's just making your meditation that much easier.
I would say it's even the preliminary stages of meditation. So there will be an overlap between these two also.
Okay.
Whereas, because you're starting to visualize, the form, and so then in that the meditation has already begun. But the focus is more still on the concentration of the form and the visualization than it is actually meditating on that thing you visualized.
So, and talk about the visualization. What do you mean when you say visualization?
Well, by visualization, I mean that there's actually a picture you're visualizing of source.
Okay. What picture do you
Yeah.
visualize of source?
Well, I picture a form of a personal form of source.
Which help me. How a few more? Which is it personal? Like, is it actually?
It's a personal form.
You're not sharing it. Is that kind of personal?
No, it's not that kind of person. I'm just thinking how.
Let me give you an
How
example.
to describe.
How I feel is I don't see anything visual.
Mm.
It's a feeling. I know that everything is everything. I know that everything's connected. I know there's a creator. I know it's here for a reason. I know that I'm part of source and I'm also separate from source. And it's a paradox. And it's a feeling of it's really a miracle experience for me is I'm experiencing as a miracle, I'm feeling the greater miracle that's coming back to me. I don't visualize what that's a feeling. I don't see anything.
Oh, I see.
So
because
what do you see?
Yeah, what I see is a person.
You do see a person.
Yes, a person.
So the source is a personality.
It's a personality
Yeah, I get
also,
that.
yeah.
Okay. I don't see that because people get confused with this personality thing. They start
Yeah.
thinking, God sitting in a cloud chair
Yeah,
up there
yeah.
looking down at
Which
us
is
and
totally not what it is.
usually judging us. So, do you see it like as an entity personality, or do you see it as it's not a neutral creation or consciousness? It's actually a thing. It's it's a one thing.
It's a sentient being.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I don't visualize. Do you see that as being an issue? Because I don't really.
No,
I don't get caught up in it being a personality.
In different traditions, they approach it differently. Like for example, in my tradition, I visualize Krishna.
Okay.
But in another tradition, they will visualize Ram, or they will visualize Narayan, or Vishnu, or Muhammad, or Jehovah.
Now
or
I'm having
Jesus.
visualization envy.
Yeah.
I need to get.
Yeah.
I need to get a visualization. Oh my God.
Or others just visualize, the white light and just feeling that and
That's
experiencing
more.
that.
That's more of where I go.
And all of these are aspects of source.
Yes.
And they're not mutually exclusive either. And they're all part of the same entity.
Of course they are. Of course they
Yeah.
are. It's really an individual choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because our connection to source is also unique.
I was
It's our
kidding about the
experience.
envy.
Of course. You're free from envy.
Oh, well, no, I'm not. Well, mostly. Okay. Well, maybe the way you use envy, I'm not. The way I use envy, I mostly am. But that's another day.
Okay.
All right. So anything else? I just kind of, I don't really see that much more about concentration. The part that I learned that I found useful is that the mindfulness, is that the sacredness in the moment. I really saw concentration is where my eyes are closed and I'm focusing on, source, for example. I really didn't see it as a focus on the sacred.
Because if you're focusing on you're focusing on something.
Yes.
So you can't focus on nothing. So if you don't have, it's like a form.
If you don't have an anchor
what
in
you-
this
what you
walking
focus
around
on.
in the world,
Yeah.
then what are you? What are you
Yeah.
focusing? Because you then become mindless and then start having sloppy behaviors.
So meditating.
I'm talking
on
about
an-
me
on
right
an-
now, not you.
So meditating on an impersonal energy is very, very difficult because how do you conceptualize it? Because it's not something you can conceptualize. Just some impersonal, all-pervasive energy. And now you want to focus and concentrate on that. It's very, very difficult. For most people, actually impossible.
Yeah, I have a feeling around that. But the part that I think that's most useful about that is that that this concentration that is adding to your ability to concentrate and be mindful all the time, that's going to be very useful for your meditation, is when you're walking around with your eyes open as a human being in your life,
Oh, yes.
that you're being mindful. See, that's a part I never would equate that with just concentration. Concentration for me is eyes closed, you know, focused on my breath, focused on, you know, something, focused on my breath in my asana or something like that.
Remember,
So
it's like traditionally the yogi lives by himself in the forest, and all he does all day is just this.
yes,
He doesn't have anything else to do. He
Mm.
doesn't have rent bills to pay. He doesn't
Sure.
have people to meet. So he can actually just sit and do that.
that's what I saw it as a
So-
sitting
yeah,
practice.
exactly.
But the great thing that you just, because I'm not in the forest and I'm not doing that, it just gave me another thing to be able to do in applying and increasing my concentration is being mindful in having every moment be sacred, you know, and reminding myself of that. It's something
Yeah,
that I fall
yeah.
asleep with all the time.
Yeah,
You know, I have a
you have to
job,
check
I'm at
yourself.
work, yeah, I actually, so that's useful.
Yeah, so for the modern aspiring transcendentalist,
Yes.
I would say that that would be more like relatable to them.
Yes.
So then they try and see whatever they're doing. Like now I'm sitting in traffic, and I'm
How can
I'm
this be
going to
sacred?
job,
How
and
can-
you make it sacred by saying whatever I'm doing now, I want to dedicate to Source, and I want to honor
I can-
Source by what I'm doing.
I can feel source in this moment. I
Yeah.
can relax. I can feel my breath. I can, you know, feel what's the word? Love or be able to appreciate. There we go. Be able to appreciate the trees around me and the people around me and all of that. There's many things that I could have appreciation for, and being able, and as opposed to looking at the watch and being upset about the guy in front of me or whatever that may be. So I find that useful.
Yeah.
So anything left to say about concentration? Moving right along.